Hi, everyone. Nathan Pyle from Songfluencer on Unsigned Podcast.
Thank you so much for making time, man. I've been a fan of what you guys have been doing over the last couple of years and followed everything. So I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to hop on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to
Cool.
dive in.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So you and I, chatted a little bit, kind of our intro call, but I wanted to save a bunch of kind of your background for the episode. So let's just start there. Tell me a little bit more about, your background, where you're originally from and how you got to where you're at today. I know you went to Dayton for school, like we talked about. Curious to know if, you'd always wanted to be, in the music business or the entertainment business, and that's what you went to school for, or is there something else that you were trying to do before this? But yeah, man, we just love kind of like your full background.
Absolutely. So, originally from Columbus, Ohio, and yes, I attended the University of Dayton. Honestly, originally went there with the mindset of real estate. And, as I feel many do when they get into college, you see other doors open and became privy to the live entertainment sector, hearing other people's stories of interning at various music business entities throughout the US. I sparked my interest and took a dive into getting involved on campus with some on-campus concerts, which lended myself to ultimately becoming a promoter at the University of Dayton. And while I was doing that, I was also leading up the street team for Promo West, which is a company out of Columbus, actually, that owns a bunch of independent venues in Columbus, Pittsburgh, and Northern Kentucky. So a little bit in that Midwest sector. And while I was interning there and working on campus, working with the campus board on some shows and that, I decided to ultimately take the leap and do it myself. So I built up my own event management company, brought in a business partner who handled all the production side of things, and ultimately grew in the college market, running many college tours throughout the Midwest from Chicago to Virginia. And during that time, it was at what I would say the time of bro country, getting calls about trying to book acts such as Sam Hunt. And so basically took me to Nashville saying, all right, I want to get ahead of this. I want to go where this bro country movement is coming out of and bring it up to my touring network. And during that time, my business partner and I made a lot of connections here in Nashville. He ended up getting recruited to go on tour on the production side, and I picked up clients such as CMT and American Idol. And we made the decision to let people pay us to do what we did versus us have to keep shelling things out of our pocket. Anybody that's been a promoter knows you're last to be paid. So it was very lucrative when people were like, you do a great job. I would like to pay you to do this. That sounds great. So during that time, when I was doing freelance production work, I helped produce a Grammy block party here in Nashville, and that ultimately opened the door to getting to understand the Recording Academy a little bit. And they had a spot open. I applied, got it, and majority of my tenure was working for the Recording Academy. I worked for the South region, so I worked with Nashville, Memphis, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Miami offices, and in the membership department. And I guess really through that process, continue to make a lot of connections, and a new opportunity arose to jump over to Monument Records, which is a imprint under Sony, to head up their marketing department there. So I was their marketing manager. And during that time, Songfluencer, who I work for now, was actually one of our clients that we use for our influencer marketing campaigns, and really love what they were doing. And they ended up having a opening come up. And so for general manager, and I was like, I want to get behind this movement. I love what this startup's doing. And so I made the jump over there and have been here ever since.
Nice, man. Nice. So it's definitely you've had a lot of different experiences from, being on the front lines of things and be paying the artists out at the end of the night, booking the shows, promoting the shows, doing all the marketing of that, and then switching over to something, extremely, kind of corporate, for lack of a better phrase, at
Yeah.
the recording academy, kind of at the highest level, to now jumping back kind of full in on the marketing side of things. So it sounds like you've been able to see it from, a whole bunch of different angles.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Nice, nice. So yeah, curious to know, just like you mentioned, you've been at Songfluencer for a little bit. And I know you haven't been there super long, but as you mentioned, you've worked with them in the past. So, you guys have done projects with just about every major record label, a ton of other businesses outside of music, I'm sure. Curious to know your favorite campaign, favorite or most memorable, maybe one that you worked on or one that you knew of, kind of before you became part of the company.
Yeah, well, I definitely would say, personally for me, it was actually one of the first campaigns that I worked on when I came over to Songfluencer. The artist's name is Jordy Kiefer, and the song is Redline. And it was a independent company that came with this song that was starting to trend on TikTok, and they ultimately needed some help, and so they came to us. And man, it was so much fun. If you check out the audio and the videos that are built around it, it's just a really fun, creative campaign that I got to work with all different types of influencers on. And it was really fun to be a part of that movement because, I mean, the song ended up trending on a bunch of viral charts and just did really well. So it was really cool to be a part of something that was identified in the early stage. We were able to jump on board and help drive the ship to continue to grow over the course of a couple months in regards to where it is now. And honestly, we just got an update a couple weeks ago from the team that it is still seeing increases across the
Jesus.
board. So it was really cool that it was really great to come in, and like one of the first campaigns that I worked on is still to this day doing well. So that's my fun highlight.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. Just like you said, anytime a project goes, especially in today's climate, goes for more than like a month or two, that's amazing. That shows that like the song actually connected with people, and then the influencer stuff on top of that was really just helping to add fuel to the fire that was already there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. So again, I've been following what you guys have been doing for a while, and I think it's extremely. I haven't really talked, to be honest. I haven't really talked about it too much on the podcast, and I'm really glad that I'm able to do it with you, because you guys are, like I said, doing it at the highest level with some of the biggest artists in the world. But a lot of the listeners to this podcast are people just starting out, trying to figure out their way, and that's kind of like our market. We're really trying to help people on the come up, kind of plan for their success. So I want to start right at the top, because a lot of up and coming artists have no idea what influencer marketing is, although they've seen it, they've experienced it, they think about it. They say, oh, let me just get this person to post it. Like, this is not a new concept, right? 10 years ago, it was like, hey, I need to get on the biggest music blog, right? Before that, it was like, I need to be on MTV. Before that, it was like, I need to be in Rolling Stone. So this is just like the internet version of all of those things. But for those that don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about what influencer marketing is specifically, and what it is that you guys do?
Yeah, well, I think the important part, even before I lead into what influencer marketing is just what you said there is discovery, right? What is the means that the masses right now use to discover music? And social media is always, for a long time now, has been a part of that process. But in today's age, it's probably the most prevalent way of music discovery. And so that is ultimately what has contributed to now what everybody calls influencer marketing. And the simplistic definition of influencer marketing is you taking a song and utilizing influencers to help expose your music to a greater audience. Now, sounds completely simple, and but there's a lot behind it, because you don't want the best way to say, and I might stop me if I go on a tangent here,
You're good,
but
man. Go
the
for it.
important thing to know about influencer marketing is it's not just always so much about simply having somebody post your audio. There's a lot of curation behind it. There's a lot of reasons why companies like ourselves approach it in a way where I say is honestly, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It is finding the right type of influencers that resonate with the song, their pages meet that content, and that those influencers truly resonate with the song, right? Like nothing worse than just hiring somebody that's going to take your money, make a post about it, but doesn't resonate with their audience and doesn't go anywhere. And I think that's something that I always would warn anybody that's getting into it is there's plenty of options to go out there where you could probably drop some dough towards somebody that's very willing to take that money, but they might not really truly resonate with your song, or give it the true, honest content development that it deserves. And so that's why partnering with companies like ourselves that specialize in this, that know our influencers very well, and how to help curate and set up the best success for your audio onto the platform.
Yeah, I think that's super well said. I want to save diving into that in a little
Yep.
bit, because that's one of the things on there. But yeah, if you don't mind diving into, and appreciate that insight as well. If you don't mind diving into a little bit more, kind of the specifics about what Songfluencer does. You guys have the influencers. You make sure the context is there for people, but you guys have some sort of proprietary tech behind what you do too, right? So that you guys are able to see what's going on, see which songs may be trending, and then help guide those things too. Is that a piece of it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got plenty of back end tools that we utilize to watch things that are trending, to be aware of what's happening on this massive platform. Yes, data drives a lot of things. And so we're very fortunate to be able to build out and have that tech available to us so that we can see those things, so that we can set up successful campaigns. And ultimately, I think another important part of this piece is our relationship with both our clients and our influencers is that we have a non-exclusive experience. So, and we do that intentionally, right? Because we really deem ourselves curators behind this. And so, in order to appropriately curate a song onto the platform, not forcing anybody to either come to us with a song or for us to force an influencer to post about it is a big piece of this puzzle that ultimately makes this success. But to your point, yes, we do have some wonderful tech, and also from a reporting standpoint, we've been able to build some nice comprehensive reporting for our clients as well.
Nice, nice. You guys mainly focus, on campaigns and work with artists that have, at least like a $5,000 budget for a song. So, what can an up and coming artist without that kind of money, really in the early stages of their career, how can they set themselves up for success, to eventually work with a company like you guys? What are some insights that you may have for like, hey, early on, this is how you should be looking to build an audience. These are the different influencers that you should be looking at. Any sort of insight there?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, sure, 5K could be a good kind of starting benchmark, and obviously you can work budgets as high as you want, but there easily is tactics with lower budgets as well. And I do like to say is, we can absolutely work with lower budgets as well. We have different strategies for smaller budgets to help kind of build a presence on the platform. It might be a slightly different approach because Obviously, the more money, the more we can curate and the more, options that we have. But with that
Essentially,
being
the
said,
I was gonna say essentially the bigger the influencers you can get, right?
well, not and I wouldn't even always go as far as necessarily just having to be big influencers, but you can have a wider spectrum. You can invite a
Right.
larger number.
Yep.
There's specific, if we get into it, there's specific niches of different influencers that have different pricing depending on the specialty of creative content. Some have very elaborate videos, so it's going to require them more time and costs on their end to
Yep.
develop certain content versus some content that doesn't have require a big budget to create. So there's just so many different variances.
Yep.
Obviously, the more money you have, the more you're able to kind of be nimble and change according to how you need to. But anybody that is starting out, and I'm going to speak from an artist kind of standpoint, is the
Please.
important part is your own presence on TikTok. Is really the foundation of where you start. You start building your own fan base and you start building, your own replicators of your content. I will always tell an artist that it's not the same as you might have used Facebook, as your band page where all you do is talk about upcoming tour dates, music releases. It's all primarily focused on what's happening in your music career. We're an environment where people want to know who you are. So I always use an example of, if you are a avid baker, you should be making baking content, and you should be posting that, and you should be talking about your recipes. You should be showcasing the true you yourself as an individual. Of course you can and should incorporate part of your artistry in this as well, but user content and things that are interesting on the platform are not just about you talking about an upcoming release. So in order to really start and get that foundation, it's just becoming a user of the platforms and providing interesting content beyond just promoting your music.
Well said. So many artists are, especially on the come up, and they're looking for the hack immediately, like fresh out the gate, because they see other people doing it and they're like, hey, let me just do that. Now, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to work, right? There's always the exception to the rule, but that's the
Right,
exception, right? Like what you
right,
should really focus on are the things that you can control, which is doing the hard work, right? There's a reason that's a cliche, like work hard and good things will happen to you. You need to set up an account because, to your point, it's like even if you have the biggest TikToker, Charlie D'Amelio and her sisters, and they're posting stuff, if you don't have a presence on TikTok, you're only going to go so far because people are going to be like, I'm not going to follow this page because this person doesn't post any content or they haven't posted enough. I don't really know who they are, and so yeah, just like that's like the basics. Like you just got to start and like get going. And another thing too that I like to talk about as well is really just getting some shots up. Like your early things are going to suck and like that's okay. In the beginning, it is about quantity over quality. You have to get the shit out of your system in order to find the good stuff. That's like anything in life. Like repetition will sharpen your skills, sharpen your eye, and then as you're paying attention to it more, you'll start to see. And then that's when the hacking, can really be used to the benefit. Because if you just do the hack from the jump, people may follow that particular song in that moment and not care about you as an artist. That shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to build a fan base of people that care about you. And I love that you said that point about like, Facebook may just be for like one to many. Here's my information, boom. TikTok isn't that. It's way more interactive. It's way more personal. Same thing, Instagram obviously is done a lot of copying of that, of TikTok stuff over the years. But yeah, it really is about showing who you are and going like a little bit deeper.
right, right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um, it's kind of a great segue to the next point too. can you talk a little bit about the downside of thinking that a campaign with Songfluencer is kind of the silver bullet for a song to blow up? A lot of times, up and coming artists are like, hey, I just need this one thing, and then I'm gonna like go. And over the last couple of years, influencer marketing has become so big that they're like, hey, I just need this one thing. If I just get the money for this and run this one campaign and this one song, everything will work. Talk a little bit more, kind of just in your experience with Songfluencer, in your previous experience, how that isn't the best idea.
Yeah, well, let me take one step back from just being in the influencer marketing world. And I would tell you from previous experience of doing other marketing things that you should be doing multiple things all at once. There's got to be multiple drivers. You shouldn't be focusing all your resources in one spot and putting basically, all your eggs in one basket, using that, that phrase of you should be spreading the love across different marketing streams and drivers to ultimately all kind of come back together and launch a successful overall marketing campaign. With that being said, you're right. The fact of the matter is that the more and more popular these platforms are, that means the more and more audio that is being put, onto the platform. So to expect that putting that this specific campaign for sure is going to go viral, it's never something that you should go mindset in, is that to just hit virality, right? That's of course the best result, but there's also a lot of other ROIs that you can hit on the platform and still be successful. Still having movement on the platform in general is huge, especially when you're thinking about all the amount of people that are utilizing this platform. If you've got any sort of traction that happens, that's still really good. You're still hitting a large market. So to feel like it's a failure if it doesn't quote unquote go viral is a terrible way to look at it, in my opinion. It's really about what content just moves on the platform.
Yeah, well said. And I think it really is about having those other drivers in place, doing the little stuff, making sure you have a link tree or a Bitly link in your link in bio. So if your song does pick up steam and you do an influencer marketing campaign, that people are coming to your profile. Because one of the things that I've noticed too is that TikTok actually shares the love a little bit better than some of the other platforms out there, in the fact that they allow you to jump off the platform. Like I had an artist, in last fall, who had a song that went viral, and he had a bunch of other things. It blew up everywhere because he had the link in bio, and there was the drop down, and it was go follow me on Spotify. It was sign up for my email list. It was sign up for my text list, and thousands of people went and signed up for those other things. And he saw massive growth across all those. So it really is about doing the basic things of like having that thing set up, knowing what to do before and after the campaign. I think is really big as well. Like, hey, just giving, and we'll talk about this in a second too, the context piece. Just giving somebody a song and saying post it, that may not work. You know what I mean? What do you, the more information that you can provide companies like yourself and influencers to create content around your music, the better, because it makes it easy for them to say yes. It shows that their audience, and your own audience and what it is that you're trying to do, so that you can set yourself up for success. And then after that thing is done, what is the second phase? That's what a lot of people forget. It's like, I remember 10, 15 years ago when I was really first starting, it was like, you're working with independent artists. It was the blog era. Everybody was getting their stuff posted. You'd have this big release, this big buildup. You're working on this project, and then it's like crickets after the first week, because you're like, you didn't plan properly. And so, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there as well. It's like you got to kind of set yourself up for both sides of it.
Right. And then the last part that I want to just add is it's these platforms are a discovery tool, right? So ultimately this is to launch. And if you don't have all the other drivers behind it, as those that go and search you afterwards, if those aren't in place, you just missed the beat on the entire purpose of this, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
you want to be able to go, and if I go on to Spotify or I go on to Tidal or Apple Music, I want to be able to find that track. If it is difficult to re-find that track, then you just missed the beat on exactly what this platform can do to help you from a discovery standpoint.
Well, yeah, man. So true. So true. So I want to talk about context now. We talked about it a little bit earlier, and it's just worth repeating and diving like really deep into. I touched on it a second ago, but wanted to get your take too. Like, how important is context when making, the content for songs?
Yeah, I mean, tough question because it is all over the board in
Mm,
regards to how specific context needs to be versus how open context should be. There is different ways to react to, a 15-second, little 15-30-second
yeah.
split of music, right? So in some instances, content should be very specific because it might resonate extremely well with whatever that section of lyric is. But there's also plenty of opportunities on the flip side where there is a portion of the song that you might have highlighted that just resonates well from a more open concept where it blends for creativity to organically happen on the platform. So, it really is taking a dive into that audio, finding that right quote unquote timestamp to basically put out there. And then once you establish what that timestamp is really then building your creative direction based off of whether it needs to be that more open-ended or if it needs to be something very specific. And that's going to change, every time,
Yep.
you have a different audio and how that just quite honestly resonates. I don't know if that answered
Yeah, no, no,
the
absolutely. Because I think, and that's a great way to I think explain it. It's just that, and I think even within that, there's still a context around it. It's like, hey, I'm going to be open or I'm going to be very specific. You know what I mean? Like that's,
correct.
that all that stuff falls under context. And I think it's important for artists to understand that too when going to a company like Songfluencer. If you are going to do an influencer campaign, that you understand what it is that is going to happen, what it is that you're looking to do. And I think if you approach the campaign from that standpoint, you're going to set yourself up for success. You're going to be like, hey, you know what, like this is just a super poppy, fun song. Like I don't want to give the influencers like any sort of creative direction. I want them to go and do their thing. But then I think it's important to, even if that is the case, I still think it's important for the artist to look at those influencers that you guys provide so that they can say, okay, yes, like I think those, and not just look at the number of followers to be like, oh, they have a ton of followers. Like that's great. I want them. Because followers isn't always key. It's like they may have a ton of followers, but their engagement may suck. So it's like that's the deeper context, the layer of it that up and coming people don't think of. They just think of, let me get to the most people possible, when that's not always the case. That's not always the best route to really resonate with an audience. It really is about, I think, and we'd love to get your take on this too. It's really just about kind of laddering up to those things. If you're an up and coming artist, like you shouldn't be trying to work with Charlie D'Amelio. You should be trying to work with people that are way down on the totem pole so that you have somewhere to grow to. And hey, if she picks it up organically on her own, that's like amazing. And then hopefully you have like a real moment, or big people like her, right? But that should kind of be the thought. Like you really have to understand the context of who the influencer is, how the song may work. And if you do have some insights, like, no, I want to go with influencers that, like, going back to the food thing, like the song's about food, and like I only want to go with like cooking people, like to start there, and then later that again, it only sets yourself up for success because you know how you want to play it, and then it's like working with you guys to say, who are experts and who have done hundreds, if not thousands of these campaigns, to say like, nah, that doesn't really work over here. We can, let's rework it. Let's rework the timing, different timestamp, different person, different influencers, or no, that's a great idea. Like we love it. Let's rock. So yeah, man, I think just like you said, like there's two initial ways. It's like, hey, it's going to be open, or it's going to be like very specific, and then you have to dive into like who the influencers are and what their relationship is like with their audience.
Exactly. You said that very well.
I appreciate it, man. I didn't mean to steal your thunder there. I didn't mean
No,
to,
no, it's great. And I think one thing I would love to highlight that I love that you recognized is that the change of the follower kind of dialogue of that, engagement is going to be your most important part, no matter, I would say that at this point in any platform,
yeah,
is engagement is going to go so much further than being so concerned about who has X amount of followers and, well, they have this potential reach. Well, that's great, but they could have millions of followers, but a terrible engagement. Somebody could have thousands of followers, extremely high engagement, and you're going to see the difference. I promise you that.
yeah. And to be honest, that's if you're working on a shoestring budget, like that's how you should be looking at it. You should be approaching those smaller people who have loyal fan bases that you can build a relationship with, because you never know from a creative standpoint. You guys just hit it off, and the influencer's like just is like, nah, I would love to like create something else with you, and we can rock and build together. That's how you in this new era, I think that's how you find different collaborators, because I think it's the world is really expanding from the music world is expanding from the traditional put two people in a studio and kind of see what happens. Like the internet exists now. It's like well versed over the last 10 years about reaching out to other people in different parts and tapping in and working together really collaboratively, you know, with different with people with different backgrounds, right? It's like that creator may not make any music, but they do something that is like adjacent to music and they need music. And that's where you can come in. And again, now you have two people really trying to promote your music as opposed to you just always trying to put it out there. And
Right.
yeah, and I think, again, what you guys do is extremely important because it helps simplify the process. Like when you get to a certain point, like as an artist, if you do have a budget, like you need to tap some team members that do things better than you do to free up some of that time, because these, any artist could literally go and hit up these influencers directly, but the thing that you run into is that number one, you don't have the time to hit up all those people, you don't have the relationship, and you don't really understand, you may not really understand who those people are as creators, whereas you guys already have those things and you have the data behind it, you have the experience of running these things over and over again. So it although to see amazing huge virality success, someone needs a little bit more money. You definitely know how to help spend that money appropriately. And I think that's the context that I want to provide for people, is like, hey, these are the things that you should be thinking about. Like these are the questions you should be asking. Hey, what is your relationship like with this influencer? How long have you guys been working with this influencer? Like, what do they like? What do they don't like? And leaning on you guys. And I think that's kind of part of what you guys do too, is like that, just like you said, it's the curation piece, but it's also kind of like customer service, right?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with all that you just said. So yes, yes.
There you go. Yeah, again, I'm stealing your thunder, man. My bad.
No,
Okay.
it's great. It's great. Then it doesn't sound like I'm biased. It's like you
Right.
understand, and it's great to have an outsider perspective on, the service and what we can provide. Yes.
For sure, for sure. So now I'll pass the mic back to you. I have a nice little bit more open-ended question for you as we're coming down, towards the end of our time here. But curious where you think the future of the music business is actually going. You guys are, like we said, influencer marketing has kind of been one of the biggest, drivers over the last couple of years, especially with TikTok blowing up in the last probably 2 years, and then before that, Instagram being big for the 2 years before that. So, that's really big. But now, Discord is becoming very huge, and the NFT space is blowing up, and a lot of artists are able to have kind of those one-on-one relationships, with their fans that they weren't able to have before. So yeah, with all that, with all your experience, everything you're doing at Songfluencer, just wanted to get your take on where you think, the industry setting.
Yeah. Well, I think the most important part is to recognize where music discovery is coming from and embracing it, and who knows down the road what that exact platform will continue to be. There will always be probably some new technology that comes out that provides a new way to discover. Obviously, it will be dictated by the users and ultimately what becomes popular and what doesn't. But I think what has proven itself is that these next waves, generation waves, that are coming up, the way of discovery, not only just with music, but how they obtain information in general, currently, is definitely driven by these platforms. And so to embrace that and continue to figure out ways to continue to get information out there, through these platforms or future platforms, is going to be the way of the future, and to embrace it and not go against it. Recognize the way that your viewership, is ultimately using your music, and finding your music is the most important thing. And discovery, end of the day, is ultimately the goal. Now, of course, you want to convert into fans and a loyal fan base, and there's different metrics that even technology has allowed, virtual meet and greets and all these other different tools that were never in place, years ago, but that really do, to your point, allow the next level of, almost connection between an artist and their fan base. I can't say that it will take away from that live experience. I think there's something that will forever be a part of that experience. But there's that artist is not going to be in your city every night of the week playing a show. So it's, how do you continue to grow and learn about that artist, and that artist vice versa grow and learn about its audience? A lot of it comes from utilizing these platforms, understanding how these platforms work, and embracing that. And so I really think that the direction of the industry will continue to be more and more involved in these platforms, and whatever that next, platform is down the road as well.
Nice, nice. All right, man. Coming down to time here. Two final questions for you. This is kind of piggybacking off the last one, but what are you working on that you're really excited about? And tell us, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the future of Songfluencer, where you guys are headed, and then lastly, where can people get at you? Where can they
Yeah.
contact you?
So exciting things is we've been in the song promotion space for quite a few years now. We've also worked along in the brand space. So we are actually we have a division called Fanfluencer, that we are it has been launched but not on a wide scale, that will be coming here soon. And then we have another offering called Preffy, that is a extension to what we do at Songfluencer, and some new innovative ways to interact with music on the platforms, that I'm super excited about. And that's just the start. We have a bunch of different things in beta testing. We're a very innovative, company driven by tech. We've got some great programmers on our back end that are very forward thinking, always looking for what's going to become next. And so I'm just excited to see what continues to come out here, in the future.
That's awesome, man. Great to hear.
And then what was the second question?
It was just, where can people get at you if they have questions or
Oh,
comments or anything like
yes,
that?
yes. More than happy. Feel free to shoot me an email at nathan@songfluencer.com. Again, that's nathan@songfluencer.com. And happy if you guys would like any additional information about what we do, or Fanfluencer, or Preffy, or potentially some future offerings. Like, please, please, please reach out. Happy to help.
Awesome, man. Hey, again, can't thank you enough for the time today.
No,
I know you
thank
got a
you for
lot going
having me
on.
on. This has
Yeah,
been a
absolutely.
great conversation. It's refreshing to hear more and more how the awareness of influencer marketing and the importance of it, in today's landscape, in the music industry, and in music discovery. It's just refreshing to people to start embracing this new, quote, new.
Yeah, yeah,
Others would say this has been around for a long time.
yeah.
Some of the younger generations would, but as a cohesive group, much more embraced. So I just appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it once again, and we'll definitely have to get another one of these in the next couple of weeks or months as you guys start to roll out some of the other stuff too.
Yes, absolutely,
All right, cool,
absolutely.
man. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so
All right,
much.
man. Peace.
Bye.